In our previous lesson, we have considered a parabolic function. And we mentioned that the parabolic function, also known as a quadratic function, is a function that is of the form y is equal to as squared plus bs plus c. And we see the shape of the parabolic function being in the form of the intersection sign or the union sign, basically curved downward or upward. My name is Nanaya Wedu, and you can call me Sir Nana. Remember to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you can get all videos on time. In this lesson, we want to look at how we can graph parabolic functions. So we'll move straight and look at a parabolic function and consider how we can graph it. So let's consider the parabolic function. So we are considering the function, say plot the graph of the function, right? Or if the function y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2, right? And we are plotting that function for the interval negative 3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 2. So let's consider how we can plot this function. So the function given to us, let's remember, is y, right? So we write it out. So the function is y is equal to negative x squared plus x, right, plus 2. And we need to plot this function on the interval negative 3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 4. So first, what we need to do is that we need to construct a table. So let's try and get our table for the graph of the function. So in the table, we are going to have our x, then we have our function, which is y. And then we input the x values to get our y. So let's do that. So we are just going to have a small table, right? Okay, so we have this table. So we are going to have our x values. So we know that our x values are in the interval from negative 3. So we have negative 2, we have negative 1, we have 0, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and then we have 4, right? So once we have that, we are going to have our y. So our y is just the function, which is the function negative x squared plus x plus 2. So what we are going to do is that, for instance, if x is equal to negative 3, if x is equal to negative 3, then our y will be equal to, we substitute x, which is negative 3, so we have negative 3 all squared plus, right, x, which is negative 3, and then plus 2. So it means that we are going to have the negative squared becoming positive 9. So we have negative 9 here, right? So the negative becomes positive. We square that s term to give us negative 9. So plus negative 3 plus 2, right? So we get negative 12 plus 2. And I believe that will give us negative 10. So it means that negative 3 goes with negative 10, right? We are going to go for negative 2. So if x is equal to negative 2, then it means that y will be equal to negative 2 all squared. Remember that we put the negative 2 all squared because the negative 2 that is being affected by the square, right? Plus, right, negative 2 plus 2. So in this case, you are going to have y to be equal to, we will have 4, so negative 4 minus 2 plus 2. So it means that y will be equal to negative 4. So it means that this is negative 4. Now let's consider the next one, which is negative 1. So if x is equal to negative 1, then it means that our y will be equal to negative 1 all squared plus negative 1 plus 2. So we have our y to be equal to negative 1 plus negative 1 plus 2. So it means that y becomes equal to 2. So in this case, we have 2 here. So we are failing till we get all of them, right? The y values for all of them corresponding to the x. So if x is equal to 0, I think in this case, we are going to have our y to be equal to negative 0 all squared plus 0 plus 2. So we have our y as well to be 2 here. So this is 2. If x is equal to 1, right, then we have our y to be equal to negative 1 all squared plus 1 plus 2. So we are going to have negative 1 plus 2, right? So in this case, we have negative 1. Okay, all square is negative 1 plus 2. And in this case, we are also going to get 2. So this is 2. And then if x is equal to 3, right? Okay, if x is equal to 2, we move to the 2. That means that our y will be equal to negative 2 all squared plus 2, right? Plus 2 again. So in this case, we are going to have our y to be equal to negative 4 plus 2 plus 2. And it means that you are going to go to 0. So that is equal to 0. So this is 0. And then we have 3 and 4. So if x is equal to 3, right, then it means that we are going to have our y to be equal to, right, negative 3 all squared, right, plus 3 in this case, plus 2. So we have negative 9 plus 3 plus 2. So we are going to have y to be equal to negative 4, because 3 plus 2 gives us 5. So we have negative 4. Then finally, if x is equal to 4, then we'll have our y to be equal to negative 4 all squared, right? And then we will have plus, and then we will have 4 plus 2. And in this case, we have y to be equal to negative 16 plus 4 plus 2 is 6. So we have y to be equal to negative 10. So we have negative 10 here. So once we have our values for our x and our y, we want to plot our x and our y, right? So we want to plot our x and our y here. So this will be the rough work to do that. You can do that using the calculator as well to be able to get your x and your y, right? So let me clean the rough work so that I'll be able to draw the graph on the side, right? So when we look at the graph, we are going to consider drawing the graph. And in the case of drawing the graph, let's go to our grid and then choose our format, pick the graph, right? So we are going to draw our graph. So we have our ruler. So we have our x values. We put it in the middle nicely. Let's use a different color for emphasis. And then we are going to draw the x as well, right? So we have our x and our y. Now, based on the values we got for our x and our y, we see that the x is from negative 3 to positive 4. So on the x-axis, we can have 1, we can have 2, we can have 3, we can have 4, we can have 5, right? Let's add 1 and have 6. So this is our y side. And then this is our x side, right? X side. And then on our y side, since the interval moves to 10, we could use 2, and then we can have 4, then we can have 6, then we can have 8, then we can have 10, right? And then on the negative side, we are going to have negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8. Then we can move on to have our negative 10, right? And then on the other side here, right, we can have, right, 1, which is negative. We can have negative 2, we can have a negative 3, We can have our negative 4. We can have our negative 5. Then now we are going to plot the points. So we'll look at the points one by one and plot them. So the first point is negative 3 and 10. The second one is negative 2, negative 4. Right? So the first point here is negative 3. So negative 3 on the x-axis and negative 10 on the y-axis. So negative 3 is here, negative 10 is here. So they meet here. So we put the point there, right? And then negative 2 and then negative 4. So that is here, right? And then our third point here, we see that it is negative 1 and 2. So we'll plot it here. So we have negative 1 on the x-axis, 2 on the y-axis. So that is here. And our fourth point, we are going to have 0 and 2. So we have 0 on the x-axis, right? 2 on the y-axis. So we see here. And our fifth point as well, I think we have 1 and 2. Let's confirm that. So 1 and 2. So we have 1 on the x-axis, 2 on the y-axis. That is here, right? And then our next one, we have 2 and 0. So that is here, 2 and 0. And then we also have 3 and negative 4. So 3 on the x-axis, negative 4 on the y-axis. So 3 is here, and then negative 4 is here. And then finally, we have 4 and negative 10. Where we have 4 here, we have negative 10 here. So here, you just need to use your free hand to draw the curve. So we are going to draw the curve. Let's use another color. So the curve to touch all the points, right, of the graph. This side looks a little bit curved, so let me clean and draw it well. So it has to touch. So we see that, right, because the equation of the graph was y is equal to negative x squared plus s plus 2. We mentioned that because a is less than 0, we see the shape of the graph. We see that the graph is looking like the intersection sign, right? So this shows clearly. So you can write the graph right here. So we have y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2. And once we have this graph, there are so many things we can see here. So we can see the solution to the graph where we see it from this point here and then the point here. So we can read the points here, negative probably 1.6 and then 1 point probably 9, 1.9, right, are the solutions of the graph. So we know that the solutions of the graph will be x is equal to negative 1.6 and x is equal to 1.9. And then we see that the graph is at the maximum point here. So the maximum point of the graph is at y is equal to what? 2. So that is the maximum point here. Points, right? So we also see that the graph increases, right, from negative infinity. So it could move down and down, just that this one is on a bound. So it could increase from negative 10 right to u, which is what? 2, right? And it can also decrease from 2 right down to the positive 2 here. So we have looked at how we can draw the graph of a function. We've considered using more of a graphing tool to be able to draw the graph of a function. So when you are given a graph and you are given a bound, right? In this case, we were given negative 3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 4. We use those ones as the x values to determine the y values. And plotting a pair of points, we'll be able to get, right, our coordinates such that when we draw a curve, we'll be able to get a quadratic curve. In our next lesson, we want to consider how we can draw another quadratic curve. Remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in the next lesson.